Discover the Women in Tech Trailblazers podcast, hosted by Tiffany, Benitez, and Jordan Franklin. Here, the complexities of being a woman in the tech industry are unraveled through discussions on key issues, personal growth, and how to succeed despite systematic challenges. It's a source of empowerment and inspiration for all women at all stages of their tech careers. We are so excited to be back here with you guys today. And listen, I already know my level of energy and excitement, so it's not like I come on any of these like womp womp. But I am telling you that today's topic, we actually probably just had a whole show before we logged into this, but today's topic is one that is extremely near and dear to my heart, Jordan's, and then our guest today that we're going to introduce to you. And we're going to be talking about diversity. And we're not going to be talking about it like, listen, we're not going into all the political things. Like, we're not here to talk about anyone. We're not addressing it in that way. But what we're really going to talk about is often diversity becomes not just at workplaces, but for us as individuals as check the boxes. And I hate boxes and I hate templates. And so it's just really not my thing. And so we're actually going to dig into diversity today and just some of how we've kind of made that a check the box in some ways around that. So without further ado, I want to introduce our guest today, RonLouis. I am so excited to have you here, Ron. I've been kind of following you, and we've had a few conversations on LinkedIn, but you authentically, and I'm going to use that word because it's who we are, you authentically lead with this topic, and not from a position or a place, but from a human being. And so I've watched you do this in and out. And so when I think about who authentically represents authenticity and diversity and DEI, I definitely thought you would be perfect for this. So Ron is a seasoned global diversity, equity, and inclusion leader with over 8 years of experience driving DEI strategies across Fortune 500 companies, including Morin Foods, Bread Financial, and Infoblox. Most recently, he contributed to Confluent Incorporated, leading DEI initiatives across AMER, EMEA, and APAC regions. Laurent specializes in implementing comprehensive DEI programs, including learning and development, ERG initiatives, my fave, and talent development, fostering inclusive workplace cultures. He actively engages with academic institutions, speaks at DEI events, book him immediately, and holds certifications from Yale School of Management and the University of South Florida. A proud Florida State, FSU graduate, Laurent currently resides in Atlanta with his husband and their pup, Prius. We're going to need pictures of Prius. Passionate about community service, he is an active member of Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity. We are so excited to have you here. Welcome to the show, Laurent.
Thank you so much for the invite. I'm excited about what we're going to talk about here today and ready to get into it. So thank you, team, for having me.
Oh, thank you so much for being here. And I always like to start off our podcast and really kind of like set the stage. We like to ask the same question every time. Like, what does authenticity mean to you?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think when I hear authenticity, I think about just who you are, your true self, right? Unapologetic about who you are, consistent, showing up with integrity, and not being ashamed of who you are, right? It's all about being courageous, even when it's uncomfortable. And right now, there are a lot of moments where we can be uncomfortable in this space and not show up as our authentic selves. But I think in doing so, it truly fosters those deeper connections. It creates trust, and it has an impact on you both personally and professionally. So when I think of authenticity, I just think of owning my story, because it's my story. I think of speaking with intentionality and meaning what I say when I do speak, and then just ultimately leading with transparency when it comes to the message that I'm trying to convey. So when I think about authenticity, that's what that is for me.
Love it. Okay, so we read your bio. You've done some incredible things. You're still doing some incredible things. I do want to touch on your journey, your career journey. We obviously hear our audience is kind of a mixed bag of women in tech, men in tech, women not in tech, men and not in tech, whatever you identify as, it doesn't matter. We have people that are coming here less about those things and more about like a place to hear all the things that we never talk about. And so in knowing who our audience is, right, because that's always important and like kind of how we're answering these questions, we do a lot of professionals from all across the industry really focusing on how do we take some of these topics to help further our career. And again, you've had an incredible journey. So can you share a little bit about your personal career journey, especially in the DEI space, and really what inspired you to pursue this path?
Wow, I think that's a loaded question, but I will try to answer it in a very succinct way. I think just growing up as who I was, I think my path to D&I is really shaped by my lived experiences. And as a Black gay man, I often felt like my voice wasn't heard, even in my family. I didn't feel seen oftentimes. And then when I saw that happening to others, I would use my loud voice and personality to stand up and advocate for those individuals without fear, right? And so when I learned that there was a space for this as a career to be champions for others and advocate on others' behalf when they felt marginalized or not seen, I went after it. And it became an opportunity back in 2019 where, again, we on the cusp of the murder of George Floyd, where I was with an organization that did not have this space at all. And it was through the work and advocacy and the hustle and the humility that I had to go to leadership and say this was something that we needed. And from that moment on, it's been an upward ceiling for me in regards to this space and the things that I've been able to do, the lives I've been able to impact. And I really just continue to advocate in the LGBTQ plus space. And then also for those marginalized groups that's oftentimes unheard, both outside in the world and in the workplace. And so the work I do now continues to foster those places of belonging, those places of inclusion, but also just places where people can really just show up and be themselves.
I love that. So being in staffing, a woman-owned business, I know that there's been hurdles that I've had to go through. What would some of those hurdles be that you've gone through or you've had to help others through, in your position?
Listen, it was a feat, right? So having leaders, I think, is the one piece that having leaders that support you in this. And one of those hurdles was being led by an individual or a manager or a leader who did not support your work, your ideas, and what you brought to the table. And as you continue to grow in this space, be it DEI, be it tech, whatever your lane is, you want to make sure that you are the SME in that space. And so making sure that you're equipping yourself with the materials, the training, the lessons, the certifications, the experiences to do great work in that space is important. And when you do that, you know that you've equipped yourself with those tools to be the best that you can. But I think the hurdle that I found early on was that being told no. And LaRon doesn't take no very well. I find a way or I'll make one. And through making one and finding a way, I've been able to really speak into my career. I believe in manifestation and what I wanted and what I want to see in this space. And literally everything I said that I wanted, I wrote it down, I manifested it, and it has come to fruition. And that's because I didn't give up at that first no. And I always believe you will hear 1,000 no's before you hear a yes, but you have to keep going and not quit. And so through that journey, it has allowed me to be on the main stage, on the global stage, doing this work and bringing it to communities that need it and cultures that truly deserves the place of belonging and inclusion.
I love that. Yeah. I would say, okay, I think that we're just going to talk about corporate America for a second, although I think many businesses fall into the same thing, so we can generalize it. Yeah. We do so much in corporate America at a surface level. Actually, can we be real? I feel like as humanity, we do so much at a surface level. And listen, we're all different. So some of us do good just staying on the surface. Some of us just want to go really deep. Some of us. But I think I'm bringing this to a head because I think that right now, because we do so much in business at a surface level, that DEI is no different, right? It's okay. We just dance along it. We glide on the surface and then we keep moving. And so I really think that ability to stay on the surface of really anything never really creates much, right? And I think you, LaRon, are a trailblazer. I think that you walk into spaces that you are your whole self. You create freedom and space for others to go do this. And so being a trailblazer in those surface environments is super uncomfortable. So I'd like to know, how do we really move beyond surface level diversity efforts, especially as companies? So all companies, just speaking to companies, how do we move beyond that surface level and really create meaningful, lasting inclusion within your teams? Because there is power and outcome and benefit and money to doing so.
I'm going to add to that too, though. I also think being a trailblazer where you are, it's really hard because you're also teaching. Because people think they understand what DEI is, but they don't really get it. So they might be against it because of their preconceived notion, but not actually understand what you actually mean.
Jordan, if I could become super rich off of just teaching what it is, I think we would be all millionaires, because people think it's just a surface thing. They think it's black and white, and it's beyond that. And I think a lot of us are seeing that play out on social media, within our friend groups, within our work circles. People think D&I is one thing when it's such a multifaceted thing among us. And so when we think about the surface level stuff from companies, businesses, we truly just have to move past the performative actions. We have to create a really true, deep sense of culture, structure change. And by doing that, you get more inclusive environment. So when we think about how do we continue to build inclusive leadership and accountability, again, we have to equip our leaders with the knowledge, right? So a lot of our leaders don't know some things. We think they're leaders because they're leaders and execs and CEOs and C-suite, they know it all, but they have questions too. But equipping them with that inclusive leadership training, I think, is important, so that they understand how to foster belonging teams within their environments. I think a big piece that often goes untouched is being able to address workplace culture and that psychological safety, right? Like at work, we have to be able to promote psychological safety and what that looks like, so that all of us can feel seen and heard. And I know we hear those words a lot in this space, but that's exactly what it is. We want to feel heard in meetings. We want to feel valued. We want to feel like our ideas matter and are being implemented. And so when you think about things, associate surveys and feedback forms and things of that nature as well, listening sessions, all of those things go into building that space of psychological safety. And then lastly, what I will say is that we know that data really drives a lot of our insight and our growth. We can't forget about what data brings to the table. And so measuring and sustaining those progresses through those data-driven insights. And I think the way we get there is really just moving beyond quotas or staffing quotas or diversity headcounts, all of those things, and really just track inclusion metrics. When we think about retention, we think about promotion rates, or even like belonging surveys, hiring rates. When we're partnering with organizations that help bring in this talent, those are ways that I would say that we move past surface level performative action. We really create that deep structural and cultural change through those things.
I 100% agree with you. So not to name any names, but I've worked with lots and lots of different organizations from a staffing perspective.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, some of them that are funded or state funded always ask for, okay, how many people did you talk to? What was the makeup of that? All of this stuff. And I want to be like, you don't even have the data yourself to prove everyone you talk to, but I do, and I will show it to you. But this is not what you think it is. This is not DEI, like this is you asking me a question of what the makeup of the people that we talked to, but not the makeup of the people you interviewed. Like that's not a 1-to-1 ratio.
Yeah.
It drives me insane. That's like, to me,
absolutely.
that is like surface. That is the pure perfect example of, oh, this is what we're going to do. And we're just going to scrape the surface right here, but we're going to pat ourselves on the back for doing it.
Yeah. That's
data. You talked about data. And here's the deal. There, to your point, Jordan, searching after particular data points for their thing. But hey, all we have to do is play the same game and flip it, because we then get to use the data, right? We know that everything from a diversity lens and change and the power that happens out of that also comes from data. And so I think we need to play the game. I think we need to flip the data game. And while they're using it for the surface level activities, we use it for going deeper and telling the story. Because the thing I love most about data is it removes the emotion.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
So we're not talking about feelings or what I want or what I think is right. Like I'm simply showing you right here the black and white data of what it is.
And that's where I would say D&I becomes black and white, the data. It is or it's not. And this is telling us the story. And how do you tell that story without, to your point, Tiffany, the emotion behind it? And I think a lot of us are so...
Let's take a moment to thank our sponsors, Women in Technology of Northwest Arkansas and Gumption at my-gumption.com for their support. Their contributions are critical in bringing these meaningful conversations to you. Stick around for more engaging discussions right after this break.
And I think a lot of us are so engulfed in this work, and we oftentimes forget to check our individual feelings at the door when we show up. And our emotion emotional intelligence is sometimes tested in those spaces. And so, again, I just think data drives the results. And because we are in a results-driven environment in corporate America, giving them the data will help us get to the end goal.
More than ever, right now, where we are sitting, in this time and in this day, it is going to be more important for you to check your feelings at the door. Okay.
Absolutely.
I get it. There's a lot going on. We all got a lot of feelings on this, but we've got to keep this data driven, because anytime you bring your emotion into it, and Jordan, I know as women, we get this all the time. Like, oh my God, the emotion, like she brought the emotion. No, we're just going to make it a data game. We're going to play the game. But why I say that about the emotion is that I think even from what's going on from a DEI perspective and all the threat of it, et cetera, right now, I think that what we can do is that it's okay to have your feelings, like acknowledge your feelings, but don't stay there. Okay. Because that will take you in a whole other place. I think what we do is we stop looking for DEI to be an initiative or someone's job, LaRon's job, because he leads this or whatever, right? We are DEI. Every single person is DEI. And what we can do is to live that out day in and day out, not just from our mouths. Like, how are we living? How are we treating people? Like, how are we creating space? How are we not just living on the surface? Yeah.
And I think we forget sometimes in these positions that we are in that we have to model the behavior, right? And we're always on. And so the moment we slip, someone got you. It's a gotcha moment. But at the end of the day, we're human and we do have those emotions. And I'll tell you, like, talking passionately about something today with my leader, like, as a grown man, I cried about something because and for her, it was like, don't apologize. That shows me that you care. And I had to, man up for a moment, but I had to, like, it was a passionate moment to be like, I really care deeply about what's happening here. And I feel impacted in a way, like, how do we continue to move forward in this space and stay committed? And so I think not just you all, we have, as women, we have our moments too, where we fall and we have our moments of weakness, but it's because we care and we're passionate about what we do.
Well, and I think passion can come through in so many different ways, right? And it might be that you're going to cry or that you're going to be angry, right? Like, it just might be. And I'm sorry, but I'm Italian. So normally it comes out in happy, angry, one of the two, tears sometimes. But normally I'm yelling. And I just think I think we've talked about it, and I really want to say, like you said, it's not an initiative, right? Like, it just is. We have X many people coming out or exiting this field, college, whatever. We have that many. Well, our makeup within our organization should model that. Like, if we have 29% in IT, then we should have 29% or better in IT, because we're modeling what is available in the market. But that market should be identical to the market within inside of our company. So if you can't do that, then that's not necessarily DEI. That's just freaking data numbers, right?
Absolutely.
It's just points.
Yeah.
And I think the misnomer or the misconception about DEI is, I'm going to hire this person over here who's less qualified because they hit that number. It's not that. They could be more qualified, but your goal is to hit those numbers. Your goal is to find the person that meets that, but also kills it, so that they're not coming back to you and saying, hey, we were told we had to hire a girl over here and she sucks. Well, that's not my goal for you. My goal for you is to have a girl that kicks every single one of the other boys' butts that was sitting on that resume, sitting in those resumes. So, like, that, I think, is the thing that drives me the most crazy, right? Is when they're like, well, we have to hire a girl. And staffing companies get it all the time because you can't say it out loud. Like, really, you can't say it out loud. But
I think that's that whole gender bias thing.
Yeah.
And
I mean, to tell you the truth, like, it's kind of crazy when people say that. Like, I'll be like, okay, I can, but I'm going to send you the most qualified candidates. It might be a guy, it might be a girl. My goal will be that I find a girl better than anyone out there.
Yeah.
And that can be my goal going out. But if it's a guy, then it's a guy, right? So, like, I just think when you sit there and say, oh, HR is just making DEI because we've got to hire more girls or we've got to hire more X race, more whatever, right?
Yeah.
Drives me
Nuts.
up the wall.
Insane. You're right. And it's not that, but it's those people that, again, they don't get it. They don't understand it. And it goes back to the word I said earlier. It's all performative.
Yes.
And we have to move past that. And if that means getting new butts in seats that understand it, that's exactly what that means. And what has to happen for people and companies to move forward and progress.
Right. And maybe it's not DEI because some people don't like DEI, but we still have to keep it's still a data game. We still have to keep the right numbers and the right seats and the right butts in the right place. Yeah. So it just is.
Yeah. I just think of DEI, all this new stuff is happening. Some companies aren't going to be as focused on numbers. The ones that actually care about it will, right? The ones that don't. But I think I think if we can model that individually as humans, right? And more of us stand up and be loud, right? We just talked about I know I'm loud, Jordan, you're loud.
I'm loud
too. We have to keep being loud. We have to keep using our voices no matter what. And listen, if any person, place, or thing tries to silence you, that is not yours. I don't care how much you love it. I don't care how much, right? And so just continue. We need to continue to be that. And more than anything, mentoring other people. And I'm not just talking about a formal, hey, I want to get together once a month, go over 6 goals, but mentorship and sponsorship is key. We talk about that in all of our episodes, but being that and watching others, making space for others to do the same is powerful. So what are your thoughts on mentorship, sponsorship? How has that kind of helped you progress to where you are? And how do you see really doing that and continue to do that for our next generation?
I think oftentimes there's a difference between mentorship and sponsorship, and I want people to understand what that is as well. The mentorship, I think it goes both ways, peer and reverse mentoring, right? And so when you find that leader that you feel like exemplifies where you want to go, making sure that you find something that you can also impart on them as well is important. I haven't had a true sponsor per se, identified, but I've kept a hold of people who I know could help me go places and speak my names in rooms that I was not in. And I think when we think about companies and the way we show up from a sponsorship program or whatever that piece is, making sure that those individuals that are often not seen or often not in the room with decision makers, they have access to those executive sponsors or people and leaders who can truly advocate is what I just mentioned. So as those people are advocating for you when you're not in those rooms and you get tapped for that special assignment, a special project, you can circle back and say, oh, John did this for me or Mary did that for me. I think it's important to have a sponsor. When it comes to mentorship, those embedded programs within organizations, I think they work as well. When we create mentors that don't look like us, are not in the same field as us. They're cross-gender, they're cross-cultural. They learn from each other from those diverse perspectives. But again, at the end of the day, they're offering that guidance to that emerging talent or to that early career person or even that seasoned person. My greatest joy is when I hear from my mentors is that, wow, you taught me that today. I didn't think about it that way. And that makes me feel like, whoa, I thought you were the expert here. But when you get that, I feel like there's a shared mutual benefit there from those mentorships. And then, Tiffany, to your point earlier in that space, you went up a little bit when I talked about ERGs, but ERG-led mentorship initiatives as well, leveraging organizations and social circles, community groups to help develop structured mentor programs with the C-suite support, I think is important as well, bringing all in those dynamics to make a robust effort in developing what the future looks like.
Yes, I love a good sponsorship program. I call it a program because I like to find little sponsors. I used to call them just influencers, right? Because they influenced my career or my job or my company, my sales, whatever.
And sometimes they don't know it. Sometimes they don't know it.
And those are the best, right? Or you don't know they're doing it, right?
Yeah.
I went to a dinner one night and I swear it was a week later, a person called about a position, which actually happened to be something that I had done already, created, which was Gumption. And they were like, we're really looking to put this together. Had no clue the person was going to influence that got that from the dinner, there was no like preconceived notions that that's what I was going to do. I wasn't selling in the moment, right?
Yeah,
And
of course.
that's what I think people don't realize is that every connection, every networking connection could be an influence, or it could eventually be a mentor. You know, you don't have to be in these large organizations and have it organized and orchestrated for you. You can find those people for yourself. That being said, would you suggest any great organizations for our listening community? And if so, what would those be?
Organizations. Wow. I mean, there's so many. I think in my career, I've been a part of, from just role ownership and clarity on being able to identify what those look like for organizations. I think about, when I hear women in tech, I think of Girls Who Code. I think of Girls in Tech. This one may not, it's big in some industries, in some areas. Those Grace Hopper conferences and things, those, yeah, okay. But I know it got a little flack a couple of years ago because there was a lot of men dominated at the conference. So I was hesitant there to say that. When we think about just different cultural aspects, being able to where to shift in that from a cultural standpoint, the Executive Leadership Council, which is a great organization that supports executives and future corporate leaders in the space. I think about Latinas in tech as well, because again, it connects those group of individuals in that space. And a great partner of mine that I love is Out in Tech. I think Out in Tech is amazing at the work they do to bring that community together, to just really just continue to be stewards in the work. But even if you don't have the means and funds to be a part of some of those things, there are a lot of LinkedIn groups as well that I've seen out there that can help contribute to and add advice. D&I in Tech, Inclusive Leadership Networks. I'm a part of Out and Equal, that organization. They have different networks as well. Somehow or another, I got a link to a D&I group me chat, and it's like professionals in that space. I don't know how it found me or how I got the link, but I mean, you come across things that really just help you out in those aspects. But just seeking out what you're looking for and the environment that you're looking for, I think is important for you to just kind of nail that space. And the last one I just thought about is Elevate Network. That's another one that's a global network for professional women across all industries. And so those are ones that I will put out there and say they do a good job of bringing women together and leaders as well. And I think a lot of these organizations are not just serving women, but they serve the population. And so I think that's a space that we could look into to kind of get some resources and learnings from.
Yeah. But okay, we're coming up on final time, sad face. I could sit here and talk to you all day. But our final question is two-pronged. Okay, so first, what legacy do you hope to leave? And the second part of that is giving one final piece of advice. If you could leave our audience with one final piece of advice, what would that be?
The legacy I wish to leave is, for every moment that I've had to fight or advocate for something greater than myself, that I impacted at least one person to do greater in the lives of others as well. I think when you think about the work, sometimes it's thankless, but there are people that are impacted. There are people that come back and reach out and say, thank you for, and those make you feel great. And I think that imparts them to do the great work as well. And the one piece of advice that I would share is, in this space or throughout your career, even professionally, and more so personally, make more deposits than you do withdrawals in people's lives.
Oh my gosh.
That's so good.
Yeah.
I love that.
My bank account was so happy, y'all. We talked about that at the beginning of the show. I was like so negative. I'm talking about real bank account. I'm talking about my emotional bank account. But y'all, it's overflowing. And I'm just so grateful to have been able to have time here with you today. Again, like we've like chatted here and there, but like actually getting to spend time talking. This is amazing. So thank you so much for being on our show. We are so incredibly, again, grateful just to have had time with you today. To our audience, I hope that you really honed in to what was said today. This isn't a light topic. It's really, if you take, first of all, you should be able to take away a whole bunch of notes from here. But we are DEI. You as an individual are that. You get to choose to be that. No one can take that away from you. No one. So just continue to go be that. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. Thank you for consistently supporting and showing up for us. And Jordan?
Subscribe, follow, listen, like, all the things.
Thank you so much to each and every one of you. We will see you soon.
Thank you all. Thank you for having me.
Well, that's a wrap. Another episode of Women in Tech, Trailblazers podcast. Thanks for tuning in and sharing this time with us. If you liked what you heard, please share this episode with your friends in tech. And don't forget to subscribe to our podcast. Your support helps us keep bringing in inspiring guests and uncovering topics that matter to you. Until next time, keep pushing boundaries and making your mark in the tech world. Goodbye for now.